The following is an exclusive presentation of Optimum Local. It's Optimum or it's not.
Hi, I'm Pat Halpin and welcome to Optimum Locals, Meet the Leaders, where we're getting you to the heart of Long Island right here, right now with the Mayor of East Williston, David Tanner. Mayor Tanner, it's great to have you on Meet the Leaders.
Nice to meet you, sir. How are you?
So for those people, I'm well, but for those people who don't know where East Williston is, kind of give us the lay of the land so people can have a little sense of orientation as to where it is in Nassau County.
We're north of Mineola, south of Roslyn. Our quote-unquote 100% corner is Hillside Avenue and Roslyn Road. That's really the dead center of the village.
Now the village has how many people who?
We have about 2,500 residents. That equates to about 875 families. And mostly family. We do have a small apartment cooperative in the village.
But it's basically a single family village community where people have come out to raise their families and live the good life in suburbia.
Absolutely. We like to think of it as a Norman Rockwell kind of community where people move to a village in order to get more engaged in family life and village life, feel closer to their residents, feel closer to government because of different types of services we provide. We have volunteer opportunities for our fire department, volunteer opportunities to work in our library. We have a recreation committee. We have a beautification committee. And all these committees give, again, people the opportunity to feel closer to their neighbors and their friends.
You know, it's so interesting. As you say, you have about 900 or so residences and 2,500 citizens that live there. But there is a real sense of community, and it's distinctively East Williston. So give me a sense of how the government is organized and when the village was created.
We're like a lot of villages. We have a mayor as well as 4 board of trustees. We also have elected to have a fire commissioners, which oversee the fire department. Otherwise, that authority is delegated to the village board.
And you have a library that's part of your village.
We also have a library board. I believe there are 6 residents involved in that too, and they manage the day-to-day operations, the budget process for the library.
And what other services are provided by East Williston?
We provide water distribution to our residents.
So you have your own water district as well?
We purchase water from the Village of Williston Park.
I see.
But
you're responsible for the mains and the operation
correct.
of
We
that.
maintain the infrastructure. We do the billing. We do the obviously collections. In fact, we have an interesting project we're considering where we need to upgrade the water meter reading system that we have. We have a bit of an arcane system at this point. We're looking to do replace all water meters and have a remote read system so we get better track if we have a main water leak.
Yeah, that's an expensive proposition.
It is. It is.
But you're right. At this point, a lot of communities have gone to the automatic readers.
Well, it's like any other resident that has to maintain their home. After a certain point, they realize they have to allocate maybe 10% of the home value every year in order to maintain and to keep up with repairs.
So what is your background? You've been mayor now for 2 years.
I was mayor for 2 years. I was a trustee before that for 13 years. I had become a trustee through volunteerism, which we still feel, myself and my board, it's really a volunteer type position and community service type of position. I started out really volunteering on a finance committee for a school board. Met some of the residents there. They liked how I spoke. They saw that I was a gentleman in good times and bad times, working through problems. I was appointed as a historic commission member first, and then ultimately appointed as a village trustee. Ran and won. Mayoral situation, my former mayor had decided not to run again. Another trustee was not going to run. I had to make a decision whether or not I'd run again as a trustee or as a mayor. I ran as in order to keep a transition in place.
Because part of it is maintaining that continuity. I mean, as you think about East Williston, you say it's just kind of a throwback to another era. People like that continuity, but they also recognize that they need to have stability in their leadership that's always forward thinking.
Well, there's a need for institutional knowledge. As you know, we have a very small village staff, so we really need to lean on the expertise of the individual trustees that are coming in. My background is finance. We have a couple of attorneys. One happens to be a labor attorney. We had at one point an engineer who oversaw a lot of the projects for us, really acted as an internal consultant. And you're absolutely correct. Because of the small staff, you need to know why decisions were made 5, 10 years ago, and someone needs to be present to explain that to the board. New board obviously decides whether or not they want to buy into that concept or change, but at least they've been informed as to what the base of the decisions
Mayor,
were.
as you describe your village and so many of the villages here on Long Island, a lot of it depends on getting the community and the citizenry involved, and I'm thinking about your background, your experience. There's no way the village, or for that matter, the school board, when you were on the advisory committee, could afford to pay you as a paid consultant. Yet you're giving them, the best expertise any of your other clients, because you do have another job.
Yes.
That you would offer any of your clients.
I have to tell you though, and I mean this very seriously. This is probably one of the most meaningful things I've done with my life.
Why do you say that?
I love this country. I love my community, and the fact that I could just provide the services and try to help people. Every resident that comes to me, I do my best to listen to them, see what their needs are, don't prejudge anything, and try to help them.
So how do you maintain that sense of community and that sense of volunteerism? And the reason why I'm asking this question is, as I think back to people who've been in public office, especially those who've been there for a long time, sometimes they lose that focus, and it becomes more about defending decisions that were made 10 years ago that maybe really need to be revisited, or it becomes kind of a club where you don't welcome new people who may have a lot to offer. So how do you maintain in East Williston that sense of volunteerism, that if you're willing to volunteer, we'll figure out together the best way you can contribute your time and your talents?
Well, as you mentioned before, I am a business owner, and I learned a long time ago it's not really what I want, it's what my customer wants and what my customer needs. Right. I take the same attitude towards my residents. If I think it's obviously something that legally can be done, something that there is a groundswell or a level of interest in having it pursued, we'll give it a try. We just recently had established a farm stand, a produce farm stand that historically the village had many years ago. We had a resident come up to us and suggest they would like to do this.
Like a green market, which is a new thing. People are saying,
exactly what it
let's
is.
bring fresh vegetables, make it accessible. It also becomes kind of a hub of activity for the village. So how did you get that off the ground?
Well, it was, we do have it in a limited sort of way, because there were several people involved that were worried about commercial use of village property. They were worried about, because of the traffic issues that we have, they were more worried about just that being intensified. So we decided we as normally required to do, to establish a franchise in order to permit that to occur. We held a public hearing and vetted all those issues. At the end of the day,
there is a legal process that you have to follow, no matter how great the idea is. We have to make sure we do it right.
And something we swear an oath to uphold, by the way, too.
Exactly.
Let's remind ourselves here. So we held that hearing. There were some naysayers, and we decided to give it a try for a year. And it seems to be working out pretty well. Our residents are very happy. Very well so far.
Okay, we have to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk about the big challenges facing East Williston and other villages throughout Long Island. So we'll have more with Mayor Tanner when we return.
Some goodbyes are worth fighting for. Help the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation honor Marines by educating their children at mcsf.org.
Building girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. That's what Girl Scouts of the USA has been doing for 100 years.
Did you know being a scout helps girls become good environmental stewards? From recycling projects to beach cleanups, Girl Scouts protect our natural resources. I'm legislator Sarah Anker, and I was a Girl Scout.
Cablevision salutes Girl Scouts of the USA. Help make the world a better place. Call your local council today.
Little League
singer Robbie Levine died tragically from sudden cardiac death at age 9. A defibrillator could have saved his life. Today, Forever 9, the Robbie Levine Foundation, provides youth sports fields with life-saving equipment and offers CPR and AED training. Join us on July 30th for our first golf, tennis, and mahjong outing and help save lives.
Welcome back to MTL, here with East Williston Mayor David Tanner. Mayor Tanner, your village is a small village. There are others like Hempstead in Nassau County and the village of Lindenhurst, which are the biggest in their respective counties that have tens of thousands of people. But that said, every village these days seems to be confronting the same problems. And your background is finance, things like the 2% tax cap and rising pension costs and other expenses that go up inevitably. How is your village managing?
Well, let me first address the tax cap issue. Great concept. There are some issues involved with implementation of it. There were a lot of questions about, even for our own board, and clarifications. But my own village did decide to override the tax cap. We held a public hearing to explain to our residents some of the challenges that we had, and in fact how we had managed to stay within the tax cap if you netted out capital costs and the debt service costs that we had incurred. The school districts were permitted to take that debt service and capital expenditures out of it.
Right.
Our budget is about $2 million overall, including our library and fire department. I mean, our biggest challenge is our only source of revenue. The majority source of revenue is
property taxes. Property tax. Maybe you get some fees, like building permits, things like that, but it doesn't amount to, what you need to meet these increasing costs. But the thing that I find interesting is there are other villages that have fire departments, but I'm not that aware of any other village, perhaps there are some, that also have libraries as part of their budget.
Yeah, we have
in the past they have library districts and separate taxes associated with that.
As I understand it, I believe in the early 1900s, the state chartered several libraries. We happen to be one. Mineola, Williston Park has one as well. But I do want to get back to make another comment about the tax cap, if I may. One of the biggest challenges we had is to explain it to residents what it meant. Part of the presentation, one of the challenges we had was to explain to residents what a tax levy is, and really what the percentage was really on a tax levy as opposed to the overall tax cap that we established. In some communities where it was 2%, tax cap, so to speak, turned out to be an allowable 2.5%, 3% increase in the tax levy.
Having been in government, I know the difference between tax rates and tax levy, but I suspect there may be some people who are watching this who don't understand the distinction. So let's define the phrase tax levy.
Well, how we explain to our residents is the tax levy is the total dollars we raise through charging people taxes.
So in other words, that's the total amount of money that the tax rate will generate.
Correct.
Based on an individual's assessed evaluation, the business or the home's assessed valuation.
Correct. Now we have that, and the other source is non-tax revenue, which ultimately is shrinking over time, especially more difficult for the smaller communities. Some of the larger
used to get more state aid. I know that over the years, that's been a constant battle that local officials have made, especially village officials, saying that state aid for things like highway improvements is critical.
Yes, it is. We've been receiving CHIPS money, Consolidated Highway Improvement Program. The largest increase has really been mortgage tax revenue that the villages receive a portion of their overall tax. That's, I believe, administrated through Nassau County.
But that's gone down as a result of the recession.
Quite a bit. That's gone down almost, I want to say about 50%, which
By the way,
is big dollars.
The supervisor of Hempstead, the largest town in America, their mortgage recording revenues have gone down 50%. So their numbers are a little bit different than yours, but the impact as a percentage
exactly
is still the
right. It's
same.
interesting how we all, whether in Nassau County, a town, or village, or even some of these districts, we all deal with the same type of challenges. As long as people continue to pay their taxes, we remain to be a pretty stable community.
Do you think you'll see an increase in that as a result of the low interest rates and folks taking advantage of refinancing? I'm talking about mortgage rates.
Well, there was a bit of a blip about 2 years ago or 3 years ago where the federal government had that program in place. But since then, it's gone down, receded. And that added about 10% to the revenue, but it's come back down again to, 50% as to what it was.
So in the end, and I've lived in Babylon Village and Amityville, I'm a big proponent of villages. You know, my experience has been that, and I want to know if this was the reaction you got, when you explain this to your residents, and look, nobody wants to pay more in property taxes. You know, people will say, you know what, if I have to dig a little bit deeper to pay my village taxes, I will, because I see the impact, I see the results of the money that I contribute through my taxes.
You know, you really hit it on the head, I've got to tell you. I mean, first of all, after our presentation, we had a lot of residents coming up to us and thanking us for the thoughtfulness in terms of how we planned on it. But you know, local government is just that. You know, you pay $10, you can see the value of $10. Potentially, we could save money by not having rear yard pickup for garbage. Our residents, when you put a cost to it, $80 a month, $100 a year, whatever it may be, they say, well, you know, I'd rather pay the extra $100 in order to have that convenience, if you will.
And not have the cans on the street,
Right.
which, you know, frankly, a couple times a week,
Right. Same thing
doesn't look so great.
Same thing happens with our library, right? When they see what a library budget may be with the different expenditures, we just expanded our village hall, we increased hours, they see their taxes going up. But you know, I like to bring my children to the library. I get a chance, that gives them a chance to meet the other kids in the area. It gives our residents, the stay-at-home moms, an opportunity to meet and to chat with, otherwise they may just be at home taking care of their own children.
You know, but a lot of people don't realize libraries have become a hub of community activity. They're more than just taking books in and out. There are just a lot of programs and services offered through. So you're right, when you explain, okay, look, if with this money, here's what we're going to be able to do and continue to do, people say, okay, I'm willing to pay my share.
Right, and that's one of the other challenges that Nassau County has. In essence, people pay county tax, but it's a difficult connect to see the benefits that they're getting from that. Not that there aren't any, but however, it's difficult. It's not as directly related to the experience of the families.
But there are some things that you have to invest in, infrastructure, for example, that people assume you do that, but there's also an expense with that. And like, so for example, paving roads and maintaining, you know, your water system. You know, that's basic stuff that costs a lot of money, but you know, it's not like you see it every day as you drive by and say, oh, isn't this road great? I mean, you notice it when there are potholes, but you take it for granted when everything looks pretty good.
Well, you've been in government yourself. I think the easiest thing to do is to do nothing, right?
Yeah.
What we decided as my board, going back some years, is we, I guess about 9 years ago, one Saturday morning, we just surveyed the village. We saw the condition of our streets, and we decided to put together a plan, and almost as a legacy for that board, put together a financial plan that made sense to repave every road in our village, and that's what we were able to do. I mean, other boards, however, decide, well, they feel uncomfortable committing future boards to some financial commitment. So you see both different type of approaches.
But at the same time, doing that over the course of 9 years enabled you to spread that expense over time.
Correct.
And at the same time, making those investments then, as opposed to now when the cost would have been that much more.
Well, I think we tell our children the same thing. You invest in yourself, you invest in your education, the same thing. I mean, what is a village, what is your community without, if nothing else, a paved road, where you have proper drainage in place as well.
Okay, we have to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about your work with the Nassau County Village Officials Association and how the village officials got together to figure out better ways to do things individually and collectively. So sit tight, MTL will be back in just a moment.
Millions are losing their precious vision to retinal degenerative diseases like macular degeneration and retinitis pigmentosa. But your footsteps can help find a cure. Join the Foundation Fighting Blindness for a morning of family fun at the Long Island 5K Vision Walk on Saturday, October 13th at Jones Beach State Park.
Hi, this is James Durbin. I wanted to tell you about a weekend of appreciation, celebration, and inspiration coming to Long Island this summer. The Wounded Warrior Amputee softball team, as seen on HBO and ESPN, will be spending the first weekend of August playing and visiting Eastern Long Island. To find out more, please visit www.zood.com/warriorsoftball.
Mayor Tanner, we've been talking about what's been going on in East Williston, but none of us live in a vacuum, and one of the most effective organizations in Nassau County is the Nassau County Village Officials Association. You're an officer of that association. What are some of the things that have been priorities for the Nassau Village Officials Association?
Well, the biggest challenge that we overcame recently is this the legislation that Senator Martins and Assemblywoman Schimmel passed, which extended the ability for municipalities to use the lever voting machines as opposed to going to the other voting machines that we have.
Why was that so important? It would seem like, hey, you want to use the best equipment, the most modern equipment you have.
Well, the cost of it is the biggest driver for that matter. We're required to print out 125% number of ballots, where usually our total residents voting population,
right.
Which is there's a cost associated with that. There's a specific type of format of the ballot that needs to be met, as well as the counting of the ballots at the end of the day as well.
So the old lever machines work perfectly fine. I don't know why they ever got rid of them, but they did.
Correct.
I guess you call that progress, but when it comes to the village, you have your village elections, you get a certain number of people that typically come out and vote, and you probably have one or two polling places, and that's it.
We happen to have one. Okay. But the NCVOA also meets, they have a general meeting, and they also have an executive board meeting, which you mentioned that I'm on. But it's also the type of thing where, you don't go to college to learn how to be a mayor. You don't have to go to college to learn how to be a trustee member.
I mean, there isn't a thing, elected officials handbook for dummies, something like that. I mean, I could have used that one.
That's a good idea, right? What a copyright that. No, there obviously isn't. While there's a New York Council of Mayors offers quite a few education programs. Again, it's sort of a learn by, just keep informed, learn by reading, going to different types of work sessions involved. But it's also a great place for a cross-pollination of ideas. There's not much to rethinking the wheel, so to speak.
Right.
You have an opportunity, similar type of problems that we had in terms of funding, other municipalities tend to have those same type of challenges.
And of course, your voice is a lot stronger as a group, and the village, and Nassau County has a lot of villages, so you're much stronger. But one of the other things that struck me as I've talked to mayors across Nassau County, a number of years ago during the building boom, people were concerned that they were ripping down houses and building these McMansions, and they were sharing their experiences and building codes to prevent the overdevelopment of a building lot.
Yes, also an interesting point too is that those communities that are looking to become villages, the largest reason, if you ask them why, is for local land use control.
Yes, which is the most important
Correct.
Responsibility you have.
Maintaining quality of life, that's why people move to a village.
So how have you been able to take ideas and share information and develop cooperative purchasing and sharing of equipment? How have you been able to take advantage of that in East Williston and use and also share information that ideas that you've developed over the years with other villages?
Well, the Village Officials Association did establish itself as a energy, electrical, gas purchasing cooperative. So we just recently afforded that opportunity to our residents. I think it was about a 5% savings on the gas supply, but that's probably your best example right there. And of course, there are other equipment sharing. In my tenure, about a year and a half ago now, we had the worst fire we had in 10, 15, 20 years. And we had Mineola Fire Department back us up. We had the Williston Park Fire Department back us up. We even had Village of Westbury, or not Village of Westbury, but Westbury Fire Department back us up as well. So there is that real cooperative effort out there. And
you've also developed emergency response plans in the event of a catastrophe, a hurricane, and all of the cleanup that comes along after that.
Correct. I mean, needless to say, we certainly had our challenge with Hurricane Irene.
Yeah. So when you tell people that, when people ask you, about why do we have so many villages in Nassau County, and wouldn't we be better off if we just abolished these local governments? I mean, a couple of years ago, then Attorney General Cuomo passed a law making it easier to consolidate. What's your answer to that?
It's a scale issue. Again, people make a decision to move into a village so they can feel closer to their neighbors, closer to their government. We've had calls to my village hall regarding federal issues. When there are changes, they call us first. It's a place where someone will pick up the phone and you'll be speaking to a real person as opposed to, correct.
As opposed to some 311 operator.
Right. One can make the argument that it may cost more to a village. We'll leave that one alone for now. However, again, people, if they spend $10, they see what the value of their dollar is going, and it enhances their family life.
Well, in the village of Babylon, I'll never forget one day when my daughter, who was then starting school, was at the bus stop. I noticed that there was a nub from an old stop sign that was sticking up, just enough for somebody to get really hurt. So I called Village Hall, and within an hour, they had somebody there taking it out, and I got a call from the mayor saying, "Thank you very much." I said, "Are you just calling me because you happen to know me?" He goes, "No, I do that all the time." He goes, "That was a liability for us, and we really appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and I'm glad we could take care of it."
Yeah, well, I think people, out of respect to people, they move to a village for a reason, and it's up to me as the CEO of the village to make sure people are comfortable and are having their needs met if it certainly is possible.
And I'm sure you get those calls all the time.
Well, people are relevant.
So,
right?
What's the craziest call you've ever gotten?
I'd rather not say.
Okay. Can you give us an idea, or we won't go there? Okay. You've been mayor now for a while. Typically, mayors who are there for a long time. You get a lot out of it, as you said, and you're an expert in finance. Is this job still as rewarding as it was when you started out as a volunteer?
Yeah. I also took the position because, again, you don't go to training as mayor. I thought there'd be some personal growth involved with it, and continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to learn how to work with people and to establish agendas to get things done, provide services.
And you know what? People know where to find you.
Absolutely.
There's no more accountability than that.
I'm here right now.
You're here right now. Mayor Tanner, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you.
We really appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of our show. I'm Pat Halpin, once again helping you meet the leaders. We'll see you next time.
Some goodbyes are worth fighting for. Help the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation honor Marines by educating their children at mcsf.org.